to be with you as well. As Lina said, I am part of the Impact Hub Athens team since the beginning. My focus of expertise is communications with a strong love in stories. I consider myself kind of a storyteller, trying always to combine this ability with the entrepreneurial hat. So today I'm gonna try and give you some context, some ideas, hopefully some inspiration and some tips on how you can structure better your presentations, your pitchings, and your and the way you share your ideas. So I'm gonna share my screen, not this, sorry. Just give me a second to share the right window. Okay, here we go. Right. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Please feel free to raise your hand, put comments or questions on the chat while I'm talking. And of course, it would be nice. I know that you all know each other somehow because you have met in previous meetings or workshops. But it would be nice if you can just put on the chat box your name and where from you are connecting today. I have done my homework. I have read about you and your project, so I know a little bit about who you are and what you are doing. And before I start, I want to congratulate you all because we need people like you, people who have bold ideas and are are also brave enough to innovate, especially in the field of entrepreneurship and in with an impact in the environment and sustainability. So, in order not to take more time of you, so this is our agenda for today. We will see very briefly why pitching is important. How do we structure our deck? We're going to talk a little bit about storytelling and the impact of stories. And of course, in the end, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks. And I'm going to also take some questions, if any, regarding to our session. So why pitching matters? And I'm sure that this isn't the first time that you are looking or discussing something like that. So pitching is the act of succinctly conveying a concept, proposal, or initiative to an audience with the intent to persuade, engage, or sell. It's not limited to business. Pitching manifests in various forms and contexts, including sales, presentations, project proposals, job interviews, and even social interactions. At its core, pitching is about communication. I would say is about stories, crafting a message that resonates with the audience and prompts action. The importance of pitching, and especially when we are putting pitching into the entrepreneurial context, it helps us secure resources, whether it's funding, partnerships, or support. Pitching serves as a gateway to securing the resources necessary for growth and success. A well-crafted pitch can attract investors, strategic partners, and collaborators who believe in your vision. It also helps us to build relationships because effective pitching fosters meaningful connections with stakeholders. By articulating your ideas persuasively, you cultivate trust and credibility, and you lay the foundation for fruitful relations. It also drives innovation because pitching encourages innovation by compelling individuals and organizations to refine their ideas and strategies. The process of distilling complex concepts into digestible narratives fosters clarity and creativity. It also helps in career advancement because in professional settings, the ability to pitch convincingly is invaluable, whether it's advocating for a promotion, securing a new opportunity, or leading a team. Effective communication is a cornerstone of career advancement. And finally, it influences and persuades. Pitching is a form of persuasion, empowering individuals to influence decisions and outcomes. Persuasive pitch can sway opinions, inspire action, and catalyze change. And as you might know, we have different pitching categories. We have the elevator pitch, which is the shortest category of pitching. It lasts between 30 and 60 seconds. We have the short pitch, which is mostly used in hackathons or in other entrepreneurial competition, and it usually lasts from 3 to 7 minutes. And we have the long pitch, which is actually a more long format presentation that we usually use during the meetings we have with investors or other partners more privately. We will focus on the first two, like the elevator pitch and the short pitch, because those are the ones that you need the most right now. But in general, we have to keep in mind that a good pitch, most of the times, is short. It lasts few seconds or few minutes. It's bold, and by that we mean that when we are pitching, we show our confidence, but not arrogance. It connects because it tells a story. It's emotion driven and it's interesting. It's audience focused, focused on catering to the needs of an audience, and it's simple, straight to the point, succinct, and easy to understand. And I know that sometimes, especially when you have to communicate ideas or innovations that have very technical terminology or are coming from a more, let's say, scientific approach, presenting those ideas is not always easy because people, are not always very familiar with those terms. So building a narrative, building an interesting story around those sometimes difficult to digest terminologies might help you as well get the message you want to get effectively to a variety of audiences. And again, speaking generally, this is the structure of a pitching. There is an intro, there is the problem you want to solve, there is the solution, which is your innovation. It is your unique selling proposition or your unique value proposition. There is also supporting evidence, which means all the data that you can bring in order to support your solution. And of course, a reference to the team, the people behind the innovation, and finally, a call to action. And most of the times, when we pitch, we have also a deck, a presentation deck that help us all organize our thoughts, but also it helps people, it helps the audience follow us during our presentation. And there is a very interesting tool that is called the 10 slides deck, which is a basic deck telling the story of your business or your innovation that has only 10 slides, and it can be used either as a visual help during an oral presentation, during an oral pitch, or it can be also used as a standalone presentation that could be sent to a potential partner, and the partner can understand without you being there to to explain what is all about. So in those 10 slides, we have some key questions that we are trying to address. And the first is the problem and the impact potential. So we try to answer the question, what is the problem we're trying to solve? And also, we are trying to identify the depth of the impact. So how severe is the issue that we are trying to address? And sometimes it's interesting to put some, some quantitative data there. For example, how many people are affected by this problem, that makes your statement more realistic and more credible. In the second slide, we usually describe the solution. We usually describe our product, our service, our unique value proposition, and we link it to the problem. So we try to say, this is the problem, and this is how we are going to fix this problem. And again, trying to put some data in order to prove that our solution is viable, but also effective, and yes, and also effective. In the third slide, we usually talk about the target market and the customers, who is the client, and we try also to be as more specific as we can by segmenting the audience and putting some demographics there and some other maybe qualitative characteristics of the market that we are addressing. The fourth slide is mostly dedicated to the revenue model. How do we make money? Who buys what from who, and why? In the fifth slide, we put some info about the competition. How is the issue currently solved? Who else is in the space? So we try to think about competitors, substitutes, analogs, complements, or partners. And then on the sixth slide, we try to analyze our go-to-market strategy. So how do we market? What are the channels, the methods, the costs, and of course, the validation of this strategy and how we sell. In the seventh slide, we talk about the team, the key team members, the co-founders, important advisors, or other significant people who are part of our broader team. And then the next two slides are about finances, key metrics about our profits and our market projection, and then some info about the investment opportunities there. And of course, the last slide is about the next steps and the call to action. Of course, this is a very explicit structure of a deck. It's in your hand to decide which information you have now and which information you need to put on your presentation, and that goes hand by hand with the audience that you're addressing. So we structure our presentations and our pitchings according to the people we are talking to. But this is a good guide to help you, I will repeat myself, organize your thoughts around your product, your solution. It is like putting the business model canvas analysis on a presentation. It's some basic key questions that we should have in mind when we are standing in front of an audience that we want to persuade to buy or invest on our solution, on our innovation. But again, as I said earlier, this is all those are not mandatory. For me, the important thing for a pitching is to be very clear about the problem that you're addressing, the solution, and especially make clear why your solution is the best, how it is different from the competitors or other people or other companies or other organizations who are trying to solve the same challenge. Uh, so what you are trying to solve, how are you solving this? Um, the team, why you are the best team to achieve that particular solution, and of course the impact that you want to make, the change that you want to make, and finally the call to action. What do you need? What you are asking from the audience that is standing there listening to you. And also, it is very useful to keep in mind that there are three uh, three basic criteria that investors or potential partners are looking when they are listening to a pitch. The first is the I, the impact. So what does it, if your solution changes the world, and there is the dimension of that impact, the depth, the breadth, the risk, and the reach of of that impact. Then there is the viability. If your solution actually works, and again here the dimensions are the technical, the commercial, and the financial dimensions. If your innovation is technically mature enough, if it is popular as a product, if there is a market potential, and of course the financial dimension of your innovation. And the third is the people. That means you. Can you pull it off? And again, the dimensions here are the the vision and the values, the capacity that you bring, your team brings to the organization, and the motivation and empowerment that you bring as a team. So this IVP, um, three elements criteria for impact, is again a handy tool for all of you to think when you are structuring your pitching. Impact, viability, and people. And now I would like to move into something that is more interesting, I would say, than just putting numbers and information in a pitch deck, and that is stories. That is storytelling, and storytelling today is becoming a buzzword. I mean, everyone is using storytelling, from education to marketing, and from entrepreneurship to journalism. Everyone wants to share a good story. And there is a saying by Seth Godin, who is one of the gurus of marketing, who says that people today do not buy services or goods. They're buying stories and magic. And this is somewhat truth if you think about it, that it is not always the products that make us motivate us to buy them, the quality of the products, but most of the times is the narrative, is the stories that are building around those products. And storytelling has lots of, I'm saying, magical powers because stories have the power to affect our brain. And as you can see here on that slide, when we're listening to a story, there are several parts of our brain who are activated, and there are several hormones that our body is releasing, and all this physical activation makes us to connect, to engage with the story that we are listening. So, as you can see on that slide, a story activates parts in the brain that allows the listener to turn the story into their own ideas and experience thanks to a process called neural coupling. So when we are listening to a story, most of the times we are empathizing with the person who is narrating the story or even with the protagonist of the stories. At the time, listeners will not only experience the similar brain activity to each other, but also to the speaker. And there is this hormone called dopamine that is being released during our listening to a story, and that hormone makes the story easier to be remembered and with greater accuracy. And there is another hormone that is being released when we are listening to a story, and it is the hormone of oxytocin, which is the hormone of happiness. It is a hormone that our body releases when we are feeling happy, when we are feeling secure. And these all are happening when we are listening to a story. But stories have also other powers, like bringing people together, make them feeling like a community. And also, they have the ability to help us remember things more accurately. And there are several experiments and surveys that say that people tend to remember 22 times more stories than data and numbers. So imagine what you can achieve if you put your numbers, if you put your data, if you put all the information you have in a storytelling context. And here I would like to share with you a story. Some years ago, there was a very popular TV series that was broadcasted all over the world. It was called The Lost. I don't know if some of you had the chance to watch it, but in the first two sessions, yes, in the first two sessions, there were some numbers who were repeated again and again and again. And there was an experiment to people who couldn't remember numbers. They couldn't remember their phone number. They couldn't remember zip codes. They couldn't remember any number related information. There was this experiment to those people who couldn't remember numbers, but they were watching the particular TV series. And those people, by miracle, they could remember and they could recall very accurately all the numbers that they were presented in the series. And that happened because they connected those numbers with with a broader story that they were engaged. And there are a lot of other surveys and scientific experiments by neuro scientists that prove that stories can help our brains, they train our brains to remember and also understand more easy, even complex information. And again, think that when we are when we're enrolling to school for the first time, we're learning through stories, through fairy tales, through songs, through smaller stories. So, on one hand, we have this magic ability of stories to make data and information more easier to be remembered and also easier to be assessed and understood. And on the other hand, we have this ability of stories to bring people together, to create communities. And again, there is a very interesting book called The Storytelling Animal, and the author there has an argument saying that um, stories are kind of similar to religions because they have this ability to gather the communities together, to make them engaged around a broader belief, a broader story. But what happens when we bring those abilities, those storytelling abilities, to to the business environment, let's say? So stories builds connections because stories resonate emotionally and they create bonds with our audiences. And of course, they help us convey complex ideas simply. It also They also inspire action. They motivate our audiences to think, feel, act differently, and it drives decisions more effectively than facts alone and creates memorability because people remember stories far better than raw data, as we already mentioned, and have this lasting impression. And again, there are lots of stats saying that storytelling marketing uh, can can grow up to 33% more the market penetration of a brand than just a simple advertising message. But how do we build an interesting story? There are lots of elements, and you can see here on the slide, you can see some of them. We need a strong beginning, we need relatable characters, we need a compelling conflict, we need a clear narrative arc, we need a powerful ending. But before and prior to think of the elements of the great story, we have to think the strategy behind building this great story. So the first is to understand the audience, and it is very important in storytelling, like in every other communications techniques, to understand the audience, to identify their pain points, their values, their desires, and tailor the stories in order to resonate with them. The second is to think, what is the purpose of that story? Why do I need to say this specific story and not another one? So what is the purpose? And the third is, what are the goals? What do I want to achieve through this story? Do I want to persuade my audience to buy my product? Do I want my audience? Do I want to inspire my audience to act differently? Do I want do I want to change their behavior? So I have to think of my goals and the greater impact that my story will have on that audience. And then after I have clearly identify the audience, the purpose, the goals, and the impact of my story, I can move to the elements of my story. And there are different techniques of saying a story, and I'm gonna share a few of them with you just for inspiration. The first one, and it's very classical, it's the fairy tale technique. In fairy tales, we have a pattern. We have always a good person, we have a bad person, we have a magic object or a magic helper, and we have the solution. So if you bring any fairy tale in your mind, you will see that there is a hero, there is an anti-hero, there is always someone who gives a little push to the hero in order to solve the problem, and there is always a resolution that most of the times is a happy ending. And also in fairy tales, there is a very interesting thermometer that does not measure the temperature, but it measures the chaos and the harmony inside a story. So by playing with this thermometer, you can make your story more predictable or add some surprise elements. Another way of telling a story is the Pixar method. Pixar is one of the most acclaimed animation studios today. They have mastered storytelling, so they also created a very interesting book sharing their wisdom about stories. And there in that book, they decode their storytelling formula, which is also very simple. So in every Pixar stories, there is always a routine. Something is happening every day, every day, every day, until one day something different happens. There is a disruption there. And because of that disruption, there is a series of things, of consequences are happening until we finally get to the end. There is also the pyramid, the story arc, which is also a very classical way to tell a story. There is the exposition, the initial incident, the rising action, the climax, and then we go to the falling action and to the resolution. And finally, there is the hero's journey methodology, which is um, based on the book of Joseph Campbell, who studied most of the epic stories. And he came to the conclusion that there is again a pattern there. So there is always a hero in our story, protagonist, and in your story, the protagonist might be your solution, might be your audience, might be even you, the founders of your solution, and that hero is always called to an adventure, to solve a mystery, to answer a challenge. And at first, this hero is somehow hesitant to cross the threshold, but a mentor, a helper, comes and motivates the person, the hero, to cross the threshold, and then he starts this journey. And there is a moment in that journey where our hero has an internal fight, that most of the times it's a moral fight with themselves. And from that point, then the hero um, starts to go to return to its homeland, but different. There is a transformation happening here in the hero, and this is where the particular technique focuses on the transformative impact of the journey. And of course, there are other techniques like the what if scenario, where you present a hypothetical situation. There is the relatable struggle, where you highlight a challenge your audience can see themselves in, or there is the twist ending, where we have an unexpected conclusion. And of course, you can change, you can choose whatever format you think it's more suitable for your audience, for your own personal story, for your own innovation, for your own solution. And I would like to go back here, and see those small steps to become a great storyteller. And we talked about the importance of understanding your audience. And in all great stories, there is a good opening, there is a strong opening. So we always say that you should start with a hook. Use a question, a bold statement, an intriguing fact to grab the attention. And then you try to build this emotional depth, where you try to engage more with your audience. And it is important to use simplicity and clarity, and to avoid jargon and focus on one core message. And this is very important because sometimes when we are sharing our stories, we're very passionate about what we have done and how we would like to change the world with our ideas. And we tend to bring in all the information we have for about everything. And sometimes this creates more noise around your story, around your message, that confuses your audiences. So try to be as simple and focused you can when you are narrating your own story. And of course, okay, you written your story, now you have to deliver it. You have to present it. And I know that all people are not natural born public speakers, or natural, well, we are all natural born storytellers, and this is a fact because every day we share stories, even if we don't realize it. But sometimes this natural storytelling instinct is being hidden somewhere beneath our everyday routine. And I know that some people experience stage fright, but you have to practice. You have to practice delivery. You have to see how you can use your voice and your body language effectively um, when you are presenting your idea, when you're pitching your idea. And you might do want to practice in front of a mirror or in front of a group of people who will give you creative feedback on how on your tone of voice, on your eye contact with your audience, on the gestures that you are using. And of course, apart from the delivery and the story itself, you need an attractive presentation. So avoid too many too much text on your slides. Use more visuals. Um, uh, Use bullet points. Try to use colors that are not very difficult for the and tiring for the eyes. Try to put in your presentation, especially if it's been used as a visual help to your oral presentation, elements that you don't incorporate on your storytelling, but you want them to be there so the audience can see them. You can put all your numbers, for example, on the slides because it's more convenient for your audiences to look at the numbers uh, and to better absorb. And of course, practice again and again. And before we somehow wrap up the presentation, I would like to introduce you to the PITS Canvas. I don't know if you have ever seen this tool, but I quite find it interesting again because it helps you. I I will repeat myself, organize your thoughts when you are creating your pitch. It has some interesting questions that you have to answer, and it guides you when you are preparing your innovation pitch or presentation. So the first box is what I mentioned earlier about the purpose, the reason why. Why are you telling this story in the first place? Uh, what is yes, of course, I will send the the presentation. So why are you telling your story? What is the purpose of your project? What's the greater good do you want to achieve? So here you have the purpose and the impact of your story. The second has to do with your audience, and here you create your persona. Who is the hero, the persona of your story? Whose problem are you solving, and what's this person's jobs to be done? And that takes you back to the value canvas proposition. I don't know if you have seen it or if you have filled a business model canvas or a value proposition canvas. On the value proposition canvas, we are trying to understand how our project, our product, or our idea, our solution is maximizing the gains of our key audience and minimizing their pains. So going back to that value proposition and coming back to the pitch canvas, you identify the the main persona of your story, which is your beneficiaries, the people, the audiences that you are creating this solution for. And then we have the conflict. What is the initial problem or the conflict you are trying to solve for your persona? What is the problem you're trying to address? And please be as much descriptive as you can here, putting all the info you can and also all the data and the evidence you can in order to explain to explain better why this problem is important and it needs to be solved. And then we have the vision and the big idea, which is actually your solution. What is your big idea and how is your product or service going to solve the issue? describe it in one sentence. And I know that this might be the hardest part of this canvas, to describe it just one sentence, your solution, and make it tangible. Give the necessary info in order your audience to be engaged, to understand why your solution can help them with the particular problem that you are trying to solve. And since you have all those, then you're going to create the flow of your story, and you can choose to use one of the techniques that I've shared with you, or you can follow your own storytelling flow. And as you can see here, on the story structure, excuse me, on the story structure box, we have the intro, we have the hero, which is the persona of your story. You have the reality versus the problem. You have the conflict, why this problem is important and needs to be solved. And then you have the solution, the liberation, and your call to action. And you can also think of following the AIDA model, which is a model used a lot in marketing and advertising, while you are structuring the climax, let's say, of your story. So in the beginning, you wanna grab the attention. So you need this interesting hook that we mentioned earlier, and then you need to transform this attention to interest. So there your you put what is happening in real life in terms in relation to the problem that you're gonna solve, and then you wanna transform the interest to desire. You want to make your audience to want to listen more, to know more about your solution. And then finally, you want them to take action. So first, you grab the attention, then you create the interest, then you create desire, and lastly, you make them to want to take an action. Um, and and then uh, after you have this flow of your story, um, you need to think about the creation of awareness. How are you going to appeal to your audience on an emotional level? Thinking, of course, who the audience that you are speaking is. What is your audience? What are their expectations, needs, goals, and what do you need from that audience? And of course, the variability, the virality, excuse me, which is the format. Are you going to have an oral presentation? You're going to have a slide deck presentation with an oral presentation, a video presentation. So you have to think how this whole format is going to work. Uh, so Lina says that you have this tool and you're gonna do.
Yes, it was made available, and we're planning to do a training on it.
Great,
Focus on it.
great, great. Okay. I'm happy. I think it's an interesting tool and can help you, shape how you'll create better presentations. Um, So here are some, last tips that are kind of reminders of what we have already reviewed. So first of all, know your audience. Stories always win. So please make sure that you put somehow a storytelling aspect in your presentation. Give all the info in detail and focus on numbers, because you know that investors and partners always need numbers in order to be convinced. Get ready and rehearse, design compelling slides, and be prepared for questions, because after you're doing a you're giving a presentation. Um, um, uh, you're gonna have to reply to some questions. So in order to be prepared, you might want to step for a moment to the shoes of the audience that will be listening to you, and think uh, and think in uh, uh, in advance what questions you might they might ask you. So um, that was from my part. I'm happy to answer to any questions, and I have a small exercise for you if you want to do it as a homework, because I know that now you might feel a little bit overwhelmed with all this with all that information. So my activity says that as a team, or individuals, if you are a solopreneur, um, choose 10 words that better describe your innovation, your solution. Um, and then from those 10, pick 5, and then try to create a short story with a beginning, a middle, and an end, sharing the story of your solution, of your innovation. I'm going to put it here on the chat as well, uh, because I think it's a very interesting way to prioritize the keywords, but also the values behind what you are trying to build. And then it helps you to make crystal clear uh, your uh, your unique selling proposition in one sentence, and then inside a narrative context. So pick 10 words that describe best your solution, team, business. Oops. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, just uh, send them through. Mhm.
Should they post the 10 words in the chat or just do it by themselves in their own computer?
Well, it would be nice if we can do it here, but I don't know if how the group is feeling. But I would be very happy if you can do it on your own time and then send it over to me, and I can give some, feedback to the stories that you will create.
Perfect. Yes, I will be sharing as well this with the remedies and also with the colleagues from the other projects that are here in Synergy so that they
Great.
can share with you with more time.
Okay, thank you very much for your patience here. And I see a hand there. So maybe a question.
Yeah, I have a question. Can you hear me? Okay, in the how to be a great storyteller, there is also in the implementation part, it was written, show, don't tell. So what exactly can and how this can be part of the story, showing, not saying a word, but just showing. Is this some kind of message on the slides, on yourself, with the helpers, or you
Yeah.
just stop interacting and just show something? What's the best
No,
here?
you can. Yeah. So this is again all those tips and directions are just tips and directions. Everyone chooses the ones that fit better with their own values and vision and mission. But sometimes, if you have like a small clip of people who have already experienced your solution, saying that it was an amazing experience, or if you have a small audio from people that are giving evidence of proof of why the problem that you are trying to solve is very important. This always creates more credibility, but also builds this emotional engagement with the audience. Or if you have like an image, so for example, you're trying to create a solution for the plastics in the sea. If you have an image with a ton of plastics in the sea, and you just start with that, you're just showing the impact and the importance of the problem that you want to solve.
Okay, thank you.
There another question or any other thoughts, comments? Early for everyone, or in the middle of the day, you're already tired.
Can I have another one?
Yeah, of course.
It's about this exercise, more like can you separate if this exercise is done by the AI or a human, and which one is better?
If I can. Well, this is a very interesting question, and actually, we had this conversation in a similar training like a month ago. We were doing that exercise physically, and every person was, sharing their own stories, and then there was a lady who shared its story, and everyone was saying, "Wow, well, it was an amazing story. Congratulations!" And she says, "Okay, but AI helped me." And I said, it's okay, because it seemed that you fed the machine with the right information. So it came up with a story that had all the info that you needed in order to get your message through. But it also had this emotional touch, and the call to action and everything. But the thing is that she wrote almost everything. I mean, she said to the machine, "I want a story that will deliver that message to that audience. I want to have this tone of voice at the end. I want to have this call to action." So she gave a very, very detailed brief, that it would be the same that if she gave that brief to an advertising or a communications company, maybe they would have gotten back to her with a similar outcome. So if you can create that brief, it means that you have all the right information and all the right directions in your hand, and someone who might be might feels a little bit more comfortable in creating this storytelling is coming to help you. But the important thing is for you to make the right questions, and ask the right questions and create that brief. So if you do that and then you just take a little bit of help, it's okay. And if you ask me that if I can tell, most of the times I can tell that it is an AI production, because machines sometimes use some phrases that are similar, and stuff like that. And if I work with you more, and I listen more to your stories and how you narrate and everything, and then you come back with a story from which is AI generated, then I would certainly be able to distinguish it. But for me, if you can, create that scenario by yourselves, ask the right questions, think what kind, all the details for your stories. Who is the protagonist? What is the impact that you wanna create? What is the tone of voice that your story you want your story want to have? How much percentage of emotional and logical elements you need to put in your story, then it's fine that you use some help.
Thank you again.
Yes, Lid, it's important, first of all, to be authentic, right? Even if you have a help, but we have to humanize. And of course, if we had the machine representing us or a recording and a real person there with their own facial human expressions, that has a great impact. And even presenting the messages is not completely perfect, and it can share our vulnerability if you are nervous or something that can so had more engagement, right? So it's not that we cannot use, but it's always important to have a human touch there to engage people.
Of course. And remember that no one will share your story the same way that you will share it, because it is you.
Yes, you lived it, right?
Exactly. And that makes you and every you different from each other, because you can hire like a professional writer, and you can hire a professional storyteller to speak on behalf of you, but they will never be able to transfer your passion to to uh, to to their performance.
Exactly. Special because we're talking about missions in very relevant areas. We have here several projects, but in the case of Remedies, we're talking about the mission with ocean and water. So everyone is very engaged with the service and products they're developing. So of course, this should be present, and this should be something that will also engage people and their passion, in their energy and their motivation. I think this was very interesting. I'll be closing the session now as we overpass, which is good. It means that everyone, almost everyone is here, apart from the ones that already had their commitments, a very small, maybe 2 people. But it was very, very interesting. Thank you so much, Lida. I don't know if you want to close with some words, and we'll be stopping after that with the recording, and we'll be sharing after the PowerPoints as well. It's your exercise and the recording of these sessions, of this session in particular.
Great, amazing. Thank you all. And no, I just want to say that you have to remind yourselves that we are all born storytellers. So don't.
We didn't catch your last word. So we're all natural born storytellers.
Storytellers. Yeah. So don't hesitate. Just share your stories. Yeah.
Perfect. That was the part that missed. So I'll be stopping the recording. Thank you so much, Lida.